Fish Geek Girl. I haven't been posting any videos in a little bit here, so I thought I'd hop on and just give a little video update. You may notice my attire. I'm looking very goth today. That's intentional. I just like the look. I went to a fish auction today, which was in Motor City and Detroit area, and I was rocking this Windsor Aquarium Club beanie when I did a talk there several years ago. I was able to buy one of these, and so I've been rocking it ever since. One of my favorite possessions. Fun fact, but the Windsor crew comes over to Detroit since it's just across the bridge basically. And I hadn't seen a lot of people since before COVID. It was a lot of fun. It was a really, really good turnout for an auction, and I was able to bring, I don't know, 20-some bags of fish. Little plug, if you're new to keeping fish at all, if you are able to find a local aquarium society, go to their auctions, go to their meetings, go to their swaps. This is your best way to get like really, really cool fish and knowledge all in one spot. Definitely newbies learn a lot of lessons the hard way. And I'm not even new, but I've been learning a few lessons the hard way recently myself. I just wanted to quickly, not that I owe anybody an explanation, but I've been kind of between jobs, and so things were hectic, stressful. I took on a lot of fish pretty quickly after the aquatics department that I started at my previous employer had to be shut down. So some successes. I've been having lots of fish breeding, but trying to keep up with it all has been a little crazy. I started working retail, and my hours have been just kind of all over the place. But anyway, enough of my story. Just wanted to thank people for viewing my longfin Danio video. I've noticed that's gotten a little bit of interaction, comments, views in general. So I did notice, I've been trying to respond to some of the questions, but one of them asked about when you first have Danio fry, can you demonstrate or show a video of like how to feed them? So I'm actually in my little fish corner here. I was gonna harvest some brine shrimp, which is not their first food. I'm gonna show that, and then I was also going to show how I do feed their actual first foods, which are the golden pearls for me. I often do ceramicron as well. One thing I neglected to mention is that when you have the static systems with the little Danios, if you just put a powder on the surface, there's no sponge filter or anything to agitate the surface, sometimes they're not going to be able to get that food or enough of it, so you definitely want to make sure you kind of swish it around a little bit, or when possible, I do recommend using sponge filters. So yeah, before I get into that, a couple of other little updates. I mentioned in my race fish video that I'd talk about the Dwarf Medakas that I got, and someone featured those guys. They're actually kind of neat. They've settled in. I've had them for a few months now, getting consistent eggs, but they're the neatest little gray fish, and I really like them, and I've got some of their fry raising as well right now. So yeah, that, and I raised my first dwarf frog. I have a dwarf aquatic frog, the little Hymenocurus species, so not the clawed frogs. Just a little blonde one. He's super cute. I'll show a little video of that as well. So yeah, that's what's new with Fish Geek Girl. And yeah, let's go get into it and show you guys a few things I was talking about. Okay guys, quick little demonstration. If you don't already hatch brine shrimp, I may do an in-depth video in the future about how I culture brine. I mean, it's pretty standard. Most people do it pretty much the same way. But one thing to note is that if you are hatching this in a cooler room, it'll take twice as long to hatch. So I try to, whenever possible, aim to hatch it in a warm room. If it's closer to 78, 80 degrees, you're going to get 100% basically, well, not 100%, whatever the hatch rate is, you're going to get that hatch rate within like 24 hours. So that's good. You have to keep up with it every day though. Can be a bit of a pain, but ideally the closest to the 24-hour mark to harvest the best, or the closest to when they hatch, because the knobfly, the artemia, which are the brine shrimp, fresh hatched baby larval form, they're most nutritious right when they hatch. The longer they go post-hatch, the more they use up their yolk and their nutrients, and they become essentially just water. Anyway, oh goodness, my cat's in here. So, one thing is, yeah, I do have this on a non-functional washing machine right now. Or, yeah, this is a dryer. But yeah, the place I moved into, the washing machine doesn't work. The dryer does work, but when the washing machine doesn't work, you know, it's kind of tough to want to use the dryer. Anyway, so basically, what I've done here, before I get too much ahead of myself, oh my goodness. If you have a Bengal, they are wily little creatures. He wants attention very badly, and yeah, he's causing a little bit of havoc here. So anyway, got ahead of myself there. So, basically what, normally this is bubbling. You hook this up to an air pump, bubbles for pretty like a churning bubbling for the 24 hours or 48 hours until it hatches. And then basically you use a control valve like this, pinch it off, or turn it all the way off, and then wait. And I've already done that, so wait about 10 minutes or so. And then once you see all this orange collecting at the bottom, well, that's basically all of your baby brine. And then it'll go right into, you're going to want to use a brine shrimp net. Now, brine shrimp nets, you're going to be pretty specific for this purpose. They're going to be the smaller, kind of these soft catch nets. They're usually designated as brine shrimp nets. They have very, very small, fine holes or mesh, so it's able to catch the tiny baby brine that are fresh hatched, which is what you want. And since this is coming from saltwater, so brine shrimp are not a freshwater organism, they are a saltwater organism. So you're going to basically get as much water out of this as possible, so you're not adding salt water to your fry tank. But anyway, so what I do is I kind of let that drain into the net, and you know, I will wait until it's maybe about here, and then I'll drain the rest into the bucket. So the idea also with stopping the airflow and letting it collect like that is that the cysts, the brown, like the egg cases basically, will float, and then the knobfly, the fresh hatch brine will sink. And you don't want to give, as much as possible, you want to avoid mixing the cysts with what you're feeding the fry. The idea or the thought behind that is that the cysts can cause blockages and are not digestible. How much I believe that's true, I don't know. I feel like I've mixed it a few times and the fish don't like the taste of the cysts. I don't think they're eating that primarily, and it does float. But it does kind of look nasty in your tank when you have a bunch of floating cysts in there. So anyway, what I also do is I'll have, so this is already fresh water that I've caught. I've taken it from a healthy established aquarium. You can just use tap water if you want. This is kind of my updated rice fish mess here. I've got the oranges and some red caps in here. And then they're actually using that mop pretty well right now, which is nice, but they like more than anything I found to lay their eggs right into that like brush algae, which is annoying. But anywho, got the water sitting up here, collecting the goods, the fresh hatch shrimp, and then I'll show you how I feed that. So I was asked about, I'm just going to address the question about how to feed first hatched Danios. So here, these are not fresh, well, I shouldn't say fresh hatch. Fresh hatch, you won't feed them at all because they'll have a yolk sac. But once they're free swimming like this, then you're going to start feeding them. I've got some even younger ones. Oh goodness, see if it'll focus. Maybe not. Alright, I had to clean the glass a little, well, the plastic a little on this one so you guys can see a little better. But so these are actual, like, free swimming, maybe 24, 48 hour celestial pearl danio fry. And actually I marked it longfin. So these are actually from a couple different longfin-esque groups. There's the longfins, and then there's the kind of my B group, and I kind of mixed them together just for the sake of convenience right now. But yeah, so you can see these little guys in here. Alright, so I had some technical difficulties here. I was trying to show you guys how to feed these, and then I went ahead and did so and didn't realize it wasn't filming the whole time. Anyway, so these guys have already been fed. Their water's a little milky, but I can go through it one more time. Essentially, what I was trying to go over was that a couple methods. So when I feed the 55 to 50 micron, so these guys right here are actual, like, you know, free swimming, ready to eat babies that are first stage is what I call them. These guys are close to the 2-week mark, which is why you can start mixing like brine and microworms and stuff. But these guys have to eat strictly kind of, for me, the larval diet if you're not doing Infusora or paramecium. What I was trying to show is that with the golden pearls, 5 to 50 micron, I usually get these bags like this, and because they're big enough, I can get my fingers in there. And what I'll do is I'll kind of get it on my fingers like this. And please ignore the sad cat. He's upset with me for not giving him attention. But essentially I'll get it like this, and I'll kind of make it a milky consistency. What I was trying to say was that with these powder diets, yeah, like you really do want to make sure you're mixing it a little bit. If you don't have a sponge filter or something to agitate it naturally to get it to go in the water. So I'll kind of mix it in like this, and maybe with milky consistency. You'll see little chunks of it fall to the bottom. If that happens, just make sure that you either have a little cleanup crew and filtration, and probably also siphoning out any uneaten food, because it will follow the water pretty good. So yeah, you can see these guys are, since they're more mid-water feeders, you know, with things like the rice fish fry, they usually feed more at the surface, and they hover more at the surface. Actually, you can see one in here, and you can see, yeah, they tend to hover just below the surface. Same with like small killies and stuff. They tend to be just right there, and they'll eat right at the surface. You can see a little teeny tiny one right there, and you see it at the surface. So those guys don't have to mix as much, but with the Danios, they feed more mid-water. So that's what I do with the golden pearls, because they come in the bigger bags. And what I was trying to demonstrate also was that with the micron, because the Sarah micron bottle is so small, now you could probably put it in a bigger container and use your fingers if you wanted to. Make sure that you're not putting wet fingers in any of these, because that'll compromise the integrity of the food. It'll make it break down and be really gross. But what I do is, you know, this kind of little narrow bottle is a little too narrow for my fingers to go through, so I'll kind of get a little bit like this, and then I'll just tap it above the surface. And you can tell just by doing that, a little bit might start sinking in on its own, but a lot of it's just going to sit there and rot if they don't eat it. So a lot of times I might use a utensil and just kind of, or my finger, and just kind of swish around. A lot of times I'll use gloves on my fingers if I'm kind of paranoid, to make sure there's no soap, no lotions, all that. You don't want to contaminate your water. But yeah, the other thing I demonstrated was that I have microworm cultures at the ready most of the time. I will have active dry yeast I'll add right before I want to harvest, usually a few hours before, and they start climbing the sides. Now this much right here is all little tiny, teeny nematodes. You can see them kind of crawling like that, or squiggling around. You want to basically swipe right around the rim where they're crawling, but you don't want to get the media, which is this right here, because that'll really make the water nasty. And that's not what the fish are going to be eating. What they're going to be eating is the worms and the nematodes. So I use my trusty paintbrush, and I will open this, and I will, you can see all that movement. Yep, we'll see. It's very mesmerizing to me personally. But, yes, Keo is very upset. I have a Bengal cat, a purebred Bengal. And one thing you learn about Bengals is they're very needy, and they're almost dog-like. And if you don't give them attention, you're doing something else, taking care of their animals, they'll pester you. And, yeah, I find it, I mean, it's endearing. He's a cutie. I love him. Not complaining. But, yeah, I'll kind of go around and make sure I feed everybody. If I really want to harvest a lot of microworms, I will do so, like kind of harvest a bunch of cultures at once and then put them in a cup of water, maybe like this, and let them settle, and then I will take like a syringe and then feed them that way. If you have a lot of fry and you were doing a lot of microworms, it's the way to go. Great food for cory cats. The microworms will sink to the bottom, and then they live for about 24 hours up to in the water. They're not fully aquatic, so they will eventually drown. So just keep that in mind. Don't want to overdo it, but you can see these guys are actively feeding. They're finding the little nematodes. Happy little fish. I have now harvested the brine. You can see I've let most of the water drain in there. I have a bucket, nice drain buckets, and I will go ahead and basically turn this out inside out. I don't really rinse it or anything, to be honest. I just kind of put it in fresh water. I haven't really had any issues with, you know, too much salinity. But yeah, you just sort of rinse out the net, try to get as much of the gnawfly out. I might switch it around in this net for these guys to enjoy, or in this tank. And then yeah, I have my harvest for the day. And you can either do one of two things. You can use a syringe, turkey baster, eyedropper, what have you, to pull the gnawfly. And you can see there is a little bit of like egg cases in there, little buoyant brown things in there, but I've never had it really be an issue, to be honest, except for making the tank look kind of gross if it floats. But yeah, you'll usually just pour it off a little bit in each tank. Now, the one thing I will say with brine, you can absolutely overfeed brine, so just be careful. A little bit goes a long way with this. Once you start seeing the fish get little orange, pink, whatever bellies that are full, you know, the thing is the brine does sink and rot and die and be pretty disgusting pretty quick. So just check on it later in the day. If you're seeing a lot of like dead brine at the bottom, remove it ASAP. Get your little airline tubing out and get it out of there, because it will tank your water quality. I've had a few issues with that where I got busy, and yeah. So, I know this is not the most beautiful tank right now. I do apologize. I had a little bit of hornwort shedding in here and whatnot, but actually the brine, I've been feeding a lot to these Dwarf Medaka. Actually, you know what? Give these guys some as well. So I'm gonna go through and feed everybody, you know, after I'm done talking here. So that'll happen. But let's just look at the fish for a minute, since I'm teasing you a little bit. So these are Oryzius minutalis, otherwise known as the Dwarf Medaka. And, you know, they like to hide in the back a lot, I find. I do find that their eggs, the females do egg up, just like the other Oryzius. And they'll lay their eggs. Now, the males and females are a little harder to distinguish because they're not very colorful and they're very small, so I do notice the males have more distinct anal fins, kind of like with regular, you know, Medakas, Japanese Oryzius, Latitas, or however you pronounce it, Warare, all those. They tend to be pretty obvious with these guys. Both males and females are pretty much this color, and there's a couple big girls. The females are bigger. You see they're eating on the brine. These guys have been doing great though. They do lay eggs pretty consistently. I just removed a lot of plants in here because I've been having a hard time finding the eggs, because they only lay like 3 or 4 per female per day, which is pretty scant. So I don't have a ton of babies from them. So I'm hoping by pulling all the plants out of here, I can put those in a different tank and just maybe there's a bunch of eggs that I'm just not seeing. They do use the sponge, kind of like a lot of the other rice fish that I was talking about do. And then they do sometimes use their little scrubby pad mops right here. Yeah, these are cute little fish. I'm really enjoying them. I have not seen them passed around much in the hobby. I definitely did not see them at the auction today. So hopefully once I come to BAP these and start selling them, there'll be a demand. You know, but at the end of the day, they are a little gray fish, so you're probably not crazy good money. But I'm having fun with them. I love them. I think they're neat. So that's the adults. And by the way, the adults, I mean, they're like you know, probably an inch, if that. They're little. And so these are some of their babies. And I started teasing them a little bit earlier, but like that's pretty well started baby. But I do have a few younger ones. I do find that the littler ones, you know, you can mix them for sizes as long as they can't fit in each other's mouth. As soon as one can fit in the other's mouth, then you have a problem, or if they outcompete them for food. So yeah, these are my little dwarf Medaka. I maybe have not as many as I'd like, maybe a half dozen or so. But I'm really excited to be working with them. Hopefully pull some more eggs and offer them to you guys or whoever is interested. A couple other fun updates, just because I'm in the neighborhood and looking at all these little tanks. I have a lot of these little midnight Medakas I'm excited about. I haven't got them in huge numbers yet. Kind of slacked on them for a while and wasn't pulling eggs, but I got a few young ones, and they're just so dark, even from this small size. I wanted to show that. And then also, right next to them, I've got my the sister species to the celestial pearl danio. They're rethromicron, and you can even tell at this size that they're different, because I have that little spot right there at the caudal peduncle, that little spot once I start to get color. There might be a slight chance that there's a celestial pearl in the mix, but sometimes the fry get mixed up. If that is truly the case, I will separate them before they're able to breed, because I don't want to hybridize any of these guys more than they already are. Well, they're not already hybridized, but like, it happens, so I'm not going to be doing that. But the rethromicron, very cute lilies. Final little fun thing I wanted to update you guys on is I successfully raised this little dwarf frog. Doing a little sploot right now, his back legs. But he's almost as big as his parents already, and gosh, he hatched, I don't know, a couple months ago. So they definitely grow fast, like most amphibians. It's astounding how fast tadpoles grow. They double, quadruple in size within like a week, it seems like. Noticed that a lot when I used to work with more frogs and things. But I'm really happy that he's been doing good. I'm gonna see if I can. I have been at this stage giving him a little bit of blackworms. He seems to be munching on those just fine. I've got axolotl babies again. I'm hoping to do a video on axolotls because I've been working with those pretty continuously. Just because they've been fun. They are a bit of a fad thing, and I'll get into that when I do decide to do a video. So I have my opinions and my thoughts about, you know, axolotl breeding and you know, just what I've experienced, you know, since I've been getting into that. But yeah, so took a little while, but he's finally facing the camera. Here he is. Here he is. There's the little guy. Yeah. A friend gave me some paramecium to kickstart some cultures, so I'm hoping I can get more of these guys raised out, because it was really rewarding, but they really, really do need tiny foods to survive the first week or so. Otherwise, you just have like 100% mortality. I had maybe 3 that survived, tadpoles, up to a decent size, and then for whatever reason, I just ended up with the 1. But I'm happy with him. He's cute. Water's a little messy. I apologize for that. Hey everyone. Alright, my lovely mug again. Just wanted to wrap this up. Thank you so much for tuning in, if you've watched this far. Thank you for subscribing, those who have. And, you know, if you can share this or amongst your fishy friends or your regular friends, like I said before, that'd be great. But I'm not really doing this for views. I'm just doing it because I like fish and I'm geeked about them, and I just like talking about it. I do talks. I have given probably closer to 20 talks, usually about keeping small and unusual species, kind of like what I highlight in these videos. So if you happen to be part of an aquarium society and want to book a talk, I have to do a little shameless plug right now and just say I am open for booking talks this coming year, pretty much fully open and ready to do so. So yeah, drop me a line if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, just keep tuning in. I will try to be a little more consistent. You know, even if it's informal like this, I know the production quality is not great in this particular video, but I wanted to, just while I was in a good mood and thinking about it, you know what, let's just hop on there. So it may be pretty informal from time to time, but that's just gonna be how I roll. So yeah, like and subscribe, share, comment below if there's something you'd like me to talk about that I haven't talked about. There's going to be a lot of topics that I can't even begin to think about what all I will cover in the coming months or so. But if there's something you want me to talk about, GEEK Girl, want to know her opinion about it, let me know in the comments, and tune in, and I'll see you around.